All right, guys, I was struggling. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It has been a struggle to record. This is like my 11th time attempting to record, and I was trying to record with my cat. She just kept jumping on the desk and gnawing at Zenetsu here, as you can see. Yeah, just kept gnawing at him. I don't know if you can see him on the keyboard there. And it got to a point where I had to, unfortunately, put her out. Okay, I put her outside the door and closed the door, and I said, "Look, I'll be right back." So we'll hurry up in this video. I know that was a long soliloquy, but I had to tell you, man, I've been struggling to record this.
I want some rest. Are we having fun yet?
I have no more distractions. So we're going to talk about this. But before we do, if you guys want to support the channel, claimthemerchfan.com or become a patron and YouTube member, only $2 per month. Either way, it supports the channel, supports me, and I really do appreciate the love nonetheless. All right, so NBA Central. So first and foremost, this is what they posted on Twitter, and we're going to go into what this source is, where they might have gotten this source, and their credibility, okay? But NBA Central, just how I feel about them right off the bat, I do like them. I like them a lot. Most of the things that they post is usually pretty, accurate to what's going on, or they don't embellish things too much. And they're a pretty good hub for all things NBA. So if you guys are on Twitter, please follow the NBA Central. But I went ahead and followed this link to On Fire Digital here, and I was worried because when I first jumped into it, I was like, yeah, I see this all the time. It says report, but then when you actually read it, it's an opinionated piece. But no, they blatantly say right here, sources tell On Fire that Kerr could ultimately take over for Popovich in San Antonio, while Kenny Atkinson will replace Kerr in Golden State. And yeah, it's just blatant. Now I'll talk about the credibility of On Fire in a minute, but just throughout this article, just to tell you a little bit about what it says, it just basically talks about how Atkinson took on or went back to Golden State, even though he could have went to Charlotte. And there is some speculations around the league that maybe, just maybe, he did that because he will be taking over Steve Kerr. And that's not the first time that I've heard that. And also, they just talk about how Steve Kerr has played with Popovich, 4 of his last 5 seasons, won 2 titles, all that good stuff. We all know these things. No surprise to us, right? We're Spurs fans. We know these things. So I wanted to just look into this because it says sources tell On Fire. And I don't initially, when I look at things, I don't initially say, oh, that's BS. That doesn't make sense. No, I mean, just because you're not Bleacher Report or just because you're not ESPN doesn't mean that you're not credible. I mean, even with myself, I remember during the Kawhi Leonard fiasco, I had like real information coming from the San Antonio Spurs. Like it was a person that was directly involved with the San Antonio Spurs situation telling me things, and I said it, and I was one of the first people to even bring it up. And a lot of people went at me on social media because they were like, oh, you're full of it. Kawhi's fine. Kawhi's not leaving, da 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 da. But I did have that information. So anyone can get information, all right? It's not something that's gate kept by freaking Bleacher Report or something, all right? So don't be skeptical about every single thing. But anyways, I went through their accounts, multiple accounts. I went through their Twitter, their Instagram. I went to their website. I even went to their Facebook page. And I have to say, they do not embellish anything. And that's one thing that I appreciate. And that gave me a little bit more confidence in saying, okay, they did hear this from somewhere. Also, I even looked into the owner of it, this guy right here, Brad On. And he basically said when he was building the company that one thing that he really prided himself on is credibility. So I just have to sit back and say, all right, they don't embellish headlines. They don't post a lot of things that's silly or anything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and take not necessarily their word for it 100%, but at the very least, I'm not going to turn my nose at this. Okay. So with that being said, how do I feel about that? How do I feel about if this is true? If Steve Kerr would have took over for Greg Popovich, it would be incredible. That would be the ultimate replacement. Easily, hands down, that would be the best possible replacement. I think that will be over Becky. I think that'd be over like any single Budenhauser, anybody. I think that would be the ideal situation if Steve Kerr would have taken over for Greg Popovich. Now, with that being said, let me go ahead and say this, okay? A lot of people, when they talk about Steve Kerr, which people don't do it as much as they used to, but they're very disrespectful. They'll say, well, Steve Kerr didn't build the team. That was Mark Jackson's team. He would have won those championships. And I have to say this, any dynasty needs a great coach. And I'm sorry, I don't necessarily believe that if Mark Jackson was coaching that team that they would have won multiple championships like Steve Kerr did. I just don't believe that. Steve Kerr was a winner before he was a coach. He played with some of the greatest players of all time. He's played with MJ. He's played with Duncan. He's been coached under Phil. He's been coached under Pop. Like he is a winner, and he's always been a winner. Even with that being said, I mean, some people will even say, I know this is going to be a little ranty, right? But some people will say with Tim Duncan that he could potentially be the greatest player of all time. And I would not argue with that. If someone said that in a barbershop, I don't think that they would like laugh you out of the barbershop, right? I think people would be like, yeah, you got a case there. But anyways, besides the point. But Steve Kerr being the replacement for Popovich will be absolutely just a dream, okay? It will be an absolute dream because Steve Kerr is a really good coach. And the fact that he's been able to manage so many different egos with the Warriors, I would assume that it'd be a culture shock with the players that he would have to manage with San Antonio. But he always plays the right way. If you watch any Golden State, they play beautiful basketball. I know that we're considered the beautiful game, but just you pay attention to Golden State. They're not just this one-on-one team necessarily. They play really well together, and they've gotten further the last couple seasons than they probably should have. I mean, you have Steve Kerr. I mean, not Steve Kerr. I'm sorry. You have Steph Curry, one of the greatest players of all time, the greatest shooter of all time. But with that being said, they didn't necessarily have like a super team the last couple years, I wouldn't say. But he still made it work, and they just play. They are a machine, and he really does remind me of what the San Antonio Spurs were in 2014. So look, this would be ideal. I really hope that this is true, but at the very least, I do know, at least I can say this with confidence, that On Fire, they're not getting it out of nowhere. So yeah, pretty decent source. I'll keep my eye on them. It's one that I haven't really paid a lot of attention to, but I don't know if I said this already, but they get about 50 million. Let me see. It actually had it here. Was it 50 million impressions? Yeah, 50 million impressions and 10 million page visits each month. So they're on the come up. So I'll take their word for it. Whatever. That's cool. But anyways, hope this is true. And if it is, we are set, boys and girls. But I'll give it to you guys later. You want to support the channel? Please clanthemerchfan.com or become a patron or YouTube member. Oh wait, one more thing I didn't mention. It was actually also in this article about Greg Popovich. They also talk about how he didn't sign a new contract yet. Me personally, I wouldn't think too much about that, only because Greg Popovich, he did go visit Paris like right after we got the pick. Like it was announced, it was reported he did go to Paris. So I do believe that Popovich will still be here in the next few years or whatnot. So we'll just wait and see. We'll wait it out. But anyways, I'll give it to you guys later. Thanks for the love. Till next time. Bye.